Can I sit here? Those three simple words stopped a billionaire in his tracks. At first, he laughed. It seemed absurd, even amusing. But what the little black girl said next broke his heart and set in motion a story you'll never forget. Why did those words cut deeper than any business failure, deeper than betrayal, deeper than loss? And how could a man with more money than he could ever spend be left speechless by a child's innocent request? Stay with me until the end, and you'll witness how one child's question transformed a powerful man's life and planted seeds of hope that reached far beyond the walls of his mansion. Nathan Cross was a man everyone envied, CEO of a global empire. His name appeared in magazines, his face on the covers of financial reports, his parties splashed across gossip columns. He had the penthouse with the rooftop pool, the cars no one else could buy, the staff that moved like shadows around him, ensuring his world ran without interruption. But with every success, Nathan had grown harder. The higher he climbed, the more he learned to laugh at the world below. To him, vulnerability was weakness. He believed only in power, in control, in dominance. If you didn't have those things, you were invisible. And invisibility was exactly how he saw Maya the first time. She was small, no more than 8 years old, her clothes a little worn, her shoes scuffed at the edges. Her hair was neatly tied back, though the ribbons had clearly been reused too many times. There was nothing flashy about her, except her eyes. They carried a brightness, a determination, as if even when the world ignored her, she refused to be dimmed. Maya was used to being overlooked. She'd grown up in a part of the city where children learned quickly that their voices didn't matter. Restaurants turned them away, parks weren't always safe, and grown-ups were too busy surviving to listen. But Maya carried a courage that was rare for her age. She noticed people others didn't. She asked questions most were too afraid to voice. One evening, Nathan hosted a private dinner at a luxury restaurant. Crystal chandeliers glittered above polished marble floors. Waiters moved silently, serving dishes that cost more than most families' weekly groceries. It was the kind of place where only the elite belonged. Nathan sat at the center of it all, laughing with his colleagues, raising glasses of vintage wine. Every gesture, every word was calculated power. And then Maya appeared. She wasn't supposed to be there. She had slipped in quietly, unnoticed at first. While the adults in designer suits debated stocks and acquisitions, Maya wandered between the tables, clutching the strap of her faded backpack. Her eyes darted around the room, searching, not for food, not for riches, but for something much simpler. An empty chair. Nathan noticed her only because she stopped near his table. At first, he thought she was staff, a cleaner perhaps, or someone's child who had gotten lost. He chuckled under his breath, amused at the absurdity. What could a girl like that possibly want here, in this world of chandeliers and silk ties? Then she looked up at him, straight into his eyes. No fear, no hesitation. The table grew quiet. His colleagues noticed her too, their expressions flickering between confusion and irritation. Who had let this child inside? Why wasn't security escorting her out? But Maya didn't look at them. She only looked at Nathan. "Can I?" she began, her voice soft but steady. Nathan raised an eyebrow, smirking, waiting for her to finish. "Can I sit here?" For a split second, silence. And then Nathan laughed, a sharp, dismissive laugh that echoed across the marble room. His friends joined in, some shaking their heads, others chuckling behind their glasses. A child, a stranger, asking to sit at his table. But what Nathan didn't know, what no one at that table knew, was that Maya's next words
would pierce through his armor, tear down walls built over decades, and force him to see himself in a way he never had before. And nothing, not his wealth, not his power, not his carefully controlled world, would ever be the same again.
Nathan's laugh wasn't gentle. It wasn't the chuckle of someone amused by a child's boldness. No, it was sharp, cutting, the kind of laugh that says, "You don't belong here." His friends echoed it, their voices rising, glasses clinking. One leaned over and whispered, "Did she really just ask that?" Another smirked, shaking his head. "These kids, they'll try anything." Maya stood still. Her backpack strap slipped slightly down her shoulder, but she didn't move to adjust it. She didn't flinch at the laughter. She didn't turn away. Instead, she lifted her chin a little higher. To Nathan, it was a joke. A child asking to sit among billionaires? Ridiculous. But to Maya, it wasn't a joke at all. She wasn't asking for fine food or wealth or a share in their power. She was asking for something far simpler, far more human. A place, a chair, a chance to belong. Her eyes locked on Nathan's, and when the laughter died down, she spoke again. "I just don't want to sit alone." The room grew quiet. It was as if her voice carried something heavier than anyone expected. Not a demand, not entitlement, but raw vulnerability. For a second, Nathan felt something stir. He wasn't sure what. Guilt? Memory? A pang of recognition? He pushed it away quickly, forcing a smirk back onto his face. "Little girl," he said, his tone dripping with amusement, "this isn't a playground. This table isn't for you." His friends chuckled, relieved he had reasserted control. The tension broke, at least for them. But not for Nathan. Because even as he dismissed her, he couldn't shake the way she looked at him. Her eyes weren't pleading, they weren't manipulative. They were honest. Innocent. The kind of honesty Nathan hadn't seen in years, maybe decades. He remembered being young once, hungry, invisible, overlooked. He had clawed his way out of it, building walls so high no one could see the boy he used to be. But somehow, in that moment, this child had peered straight through the cracks. One of his business partners waved over a waiter. "Can someone get this girl out of here?" Another laughed. "She probably wandered in from the street. Security's slipping." But before anyone moved, Maya spoke again. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, but it carried across the marble floor. "My mom says people laugh when they're afraid of being kind." Nathan froze. The words hit harder than he expected. The table went quiet again, the laughter dying instantly. His colleagues glanced at one another, unsure how to respond. Afraid of being kind? The phrase echoed in Nathan's mind. He tried to dismiss it. What did a child know about fear, about kindness, about the world he lived in? And yet, deep down, he felt something tightening in his chest. Because maybe she was right. For a fleeting moment, Nathan was no longer a billionaire at a marble table. He was a boy again, sitting outside a diner, pockets empty, watching families eat through the window. He remembered the shame of being ignored, the sting of laughter when he asked for things he couldn't afford. He had promised himself back then that he'd never be weak again, that he'd laugh first, so no one could ever laugh at him. And now, decades later, a child had pulled that memory out of him with a single sentence. Nathan cleared his throat, forcing his expression back into stone. He waved his hand. "Take her out," he muttered, trying to regain control of the moment. But no one moved right away. His colleagues, usually eager to follow his lead, seemed hesitant. Maybe they felt it too, the strange weight of the girl's words. Maya looked at Nathan one last time. Not angry, not resentful, just disappointed. Then she turned as if to leave. And in that moment, as Nathan watched her small figure walking away, something inside him shifted. He didn't understand it yet. He couldn't name it, but for the first time in years, Nathan felt the crack in his armor widening. The question was no longer whether Maya belonged at his table. The question was whether Nathan could ever sit at hers.
Nathan thought he could shrug it off, but those words clung to him like shadows he couldn't escape. As Maya walked toward the door, silence lingered. The men and women around Nathan shifted uncomfortably in their seats. For the first time in years, Nathan noticed them avoiding his eyes. Normally, they laughed when he laughed, sneered when he sneered. Tonight, something felt off. One partner muttered under his breath, "Strange kid." Another reached for his drink a little too quickly, as if trying to wash away the awkwardness. But Nathan couldn't move on. The food tasted like ash. The laughter rang hollow. And for the first time, the shimmering chandeliers above felt unbearably cold. He tried to continue the evening. He told the joke, forced the laugh. But every time he glanced toward the door, he imagined the little girl's face, that unflinching gaze, that small, steady voice. Afraid of being kind. The words repeated in his mind like a song he couldn't stop hearing. Why did it bother him so much? He was Nathan Cross, untouchable billionaire. He didn't need to care what a child thought of him. And yet, he couldn't shake the sense that something had just cracked open inside him. When the dinner ended, Nathan stepped outside into the crisp night air. His driver pulled the car around, but Nathan didn't get in right away. He stood on the sidewalk, scanning the street. And there she was. Maya sat on the curb, backpack hugged to her chest, staring at the lights of the city. Her legs dangled, too short to reach the ground properly. She wasn't crying, she wasn't sulking, she just waited. For what? Nathan couldn't tell. He almost walked over. Almost. But pride held him back. What would he say? Sorry? Billionaires didn't apologize to children. He had a reputation to maintain, walls to keep up. So instead he got in the car, slammed the door shut, and told himself it was over. But as the city blurred past the tinted windows, he couldn't help one last glance. Maya was still sitting there, small against the endless night. For the second time that night, Nathan's mind betrayed him. He saw himself, not the man in the tailored suit, but the boy he once was. The boy who had sat on curbs, hungry, invisible, wishing someone would notice. He had built his empire to escape that feeling, to bury it. But now this child had resurrected it with one question. The following morning, Nathan sat in a boardroom surrounded by glass and steel. His executives pitched numbers, expansions, acquisitions. The language of power filled the air. But Nathan's mind wasn't there. Every graph blurred, every figure faded. He kept hearing her voice. "I just don't want to sit alone." When one executive asked for his approval on a deal, Nathan nodded absently, not even realizing what he had agreed to. That had never happened before. Nathan Cross was always sharp, always in control. Now he was distracted by a child he'd known for less than 5 minutes. Later that day, one of his closest associates pulled him aside. "Last night, that incident with the girl, people noticed. It made you look soft." Nathan bristled. "Soft?" "I laughed her out of the room." "Yes," the associate admitted, "but the way she spoke to you, the silence after, it unsettled people. You can't let things like that get under your skin." Nathan snapped back. It didn't. But deep down, he knew it had. That evening, against all odds, Nathan saw her again. This time not in a restaurant, but near the park across from his office tower. She was sitting on a bench, sketchbook in her lap, drawing. her shoes still scuffed, her backpack still worn, but her expression calm, almost serene. Nathan froze. Was it chance, coincidence, or something else? He almost walked over. Almost. But his feet betrayed him, carrying him closer. Maya glanced up, eyes widening slightly, then narrowing for recognition. "You laughed at me," she said simply. Nathan opened his mouth, but no words came out. The billionaire, the man who always had the sharpest reply, the cleverest remark, stood speechless before a child. And in that silence, Nathan realized something terrifying. For the first time in his adult life, he had no idea what to say.
Last time, Nathan thought he could forget her, but fate, or something deeper, brought Maya back into his path. This time, she wasn't asking for a chair at a restaurant. She was looking him straight in the eye. "You laughed at me," she said. Nathan froze, caught like a thief. He could have brushed it off, but the words stung. For once, he didn't have his armor, no boardroom, no entourage, no polished lines. Just him and an 8-year-old who spoke the truth without hesitation. Finally, he managed, "You caught me off guard." Maya tilted her head, unamused. "Why? Was it funny?" Nathan exhaled. "No." "So why did you laugh?" she pressed. Her voice wasn't angry, just curious, the kind of innocent curiosity that stripped away excuses. For a long moment, Nathan didn't answer, because the truth was harder than he expected. He had laughed because that's what he'd been trained to do. Laugh at softness, laugh at sincerity, laugh before anyone could laugh at him. But saying that out loud to a child felt impossible. So he tried deflection. "Shouldn't you be home? Don't your parents worry?" Her face fell slightly. "I don't really have that kind of home." Nathan sat down on the bench before he realized what he was doing. Something in her tone, flat, matter-of-fact, made his chest tighten. Maya flipped her sketchbook toward him. On the page, a drawing of 2 figures under a bridge, one small, one tall. Above them, a row of flowers grew where no flowers should. "That's where we sleep, but I like to imagine there are gardens there." Nathan stared at the drawing, unable to find words. Part of him wanted to stand up and leave. He wasn't supposed to get involved. He gave to charities. He signed checks. That was enough. But the other part, the part that remembered being a boy on the curb, couldn't move. "You drew this?" he asked finally. Maya nodded. "I draw a lot. It helps when things don't make sense." He swallowed hard. "You're good at it." Her eyes lit up briefly. "Really? Most people don't look long enough to say that." Nathan surprised himself by asking, "Do you come here a lot?" "Sometimes. It's quiet. And sometimes people leave food on the benches. Not always good food, though." She made a face, wrinkling her nose. Almost Nathan smiled. For the first time in years, he wasn't talking like a CEO or a billionaire. He was just talking. And Maya, without even trying, had disarmed him completely. Eventually, his phone buzzed. His driver was waiting. His schedule was calling. His old life tugged at him. He stood up. For a moment, he considered walking away again. But as he turned, Maya's voice stopped him. "You don't have to laugh next time." Nathan froze, then looked back. Her face was serious, but not unkind, almost forgiving. It was the smallest thing, but it pierced him deeper than any accusation could.
Nathan walked to his car, but this time he couldn't shut the door right away. He looked back one last time at the girl on the bench with her sketchbook. For the first time in a very long time, Nathan Cross felt something unfamiliar stir inside him. Not pity, not guilt. Something scarier. The beginnings of responsibility. And he wasn't sure he was ready for it.
Last time, Maya's words pierced Nathan. You don't have to laugh next time. Those words stayed with him long after he left the park. And now, for the first time in years, the billionaire was about to do something he didn't plan, didn't schedule, and didn't expect. That night, Nathan couldn't sleep. The skyline glittered beyond his penthouse windows, but it felt hollow, like a city of glass. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the drawing. 2 figures under a bridge, flowers sprouting where none should. He tossed, turned, even poured himself a drink, but it didn't help. Why did her voice haunt him? Why did this girl break through when he had built walls high enough to block out everyone else? By 3 a.m., he gave up on sleep. He sat at his desk, staring at the folders that defined his life. Mergers, acquisitions, profit forecasts. For the first time, he wondered what any of it meant if a child could sleep under a bridge while he measured his success in stock points. The next morning, Nathan shocked even himself. Instead of heading straight to his office, he told his driver to take him back to the park. "Sir?" his driver asked, confused. "It's 7:30 a.m. "Just drive," Nathan said, his tone leaving no room for questions. The park was almost empty when they arrived, morning mist curling around the benches. Nathan scanned the Stace, half hoping she wouldn't be there, half hoping she would. And then he saw her, Maya, curled up with her sketchbook, a backpack as her pillow. She looked small, breakable, yet somehow steady, as though the world hadn't managed to crush her completely. Nathan approached quietly, his expensive shoes crunching on the gravel. Maya stirred, blinking awake. When she saw him, her expression was guarded. "You came back?" Nathan nodded. "Yeah, I couldn't stop thinking about what you said." She sat up slowly. "Which part?" "That I don't have to laugh next time." Her lips twitched in a half smile. "Good. You didn't." Nathan hesitated. He was terrible at this, at sincerity without a contract, at words without scripts. "Listen," he began, "I can't fix everything, but I can get you breakfast." Maya tilted her head, studying him as though testing his intent. Finally, she closed her sketchbook. "Okay, but only if they have pancakes." The diner was small, tucked on the corner near the park, smelling of syrup and coffee. Nathan felt out of place, but Maya slid into the booth like she'd been there 100 times. When the waitress came, Maya ordered confidently, "Pancakes with extra butter and orange juice." Nathan, unused to someone else leading the conversation, simply said, "The same." As they ate, Maya talked, not in polished speeches, but in bursts of honesty. About the bridge, about her drawings, about how sometimes she pretended the cracks in the cement were maps to hidden worlds. Nathan listened, really listened. It startled him how much she carried and how lightly she spoke of it. It also startled him how natural it felt to just be there. No agenda, no performance. At one point, Maya looked up and asked, "Why did you come back?" Nathan froze, fork halfway to his mouth. He could have lied, said he was curious or just being kind, but instead he surprised himself. "Because I didn't want to laugh and walk away again." Maya studied him, then nodded once, satisfied. It wasn't forgiveness. It was something rarer, trust beginning to grow. After breakfast, Nathan walked her back toward the park. "Do you have somewhere Safe to go? He asked carefully. Maya shrugged. Safe enough. The answer sat heavy in his chest. For years, Nathan had measured risk in investments. Now risk had a face. And it was an 8-year-old girl with a sketchbook. As they reached the bench, Maya looked at him. Will you come back again? Nathan opened his mouth, then closed it. He had meetings, obligations, a life built on schedules. But looking at her, he realized none of that mattered if he didn't show up now. Yes, he said finally. I'll come back. Her smile was small, but it carried more weight than any boardroom applause he had ever received. That night, Nathan returned to his penthouse again, but it felt different. For the first time, the silence wasn't peaceful. It was empty. He stood at the window, city lights blazing beneath him, and wondered if wealth meant anything when an 8-year-old could teach him more about courage and truth than anyone in his world ever had. Nathan Cross had taken his first step. What he didn't know yet was that it would change everything.
Nathan promised Maya he'd return, and true to his word, he did. But what started as pancakes and drawings slowly grew into something more, and soon the billionaire realized letting Maya into his world wouldn't be as simple as he thought. At first, Nathan visited the park in secret. He'd slip away in the mornings or evenings, always with some excuse to his assistant. Maya would be waiting, sometimes with a new drawing, sometimes just with a quiet smile. They began a routine: pancakes on Tuesdays, sketching by the fountain on Thursdays, stories about her imaginary gardens on weekends. For a man who lived by contracts and deadlines, these unplanned meetings felt strangely grounding. One day, Nathan asked, "Why flowers? You always draw them, even in the cracks." Maya thought for a moment. Because flowers grow where nobody expects them. They don't ask permission. They just happen, like hope. Nathan swallowed hard. For years, he'd built skyscrapers and empires, yet here was an 8-year-old teaching him what resilience really looked like. Eventually, he did something bold. He brought Maya to his office. Not through the front door. He wasn't ready for headlines. Instead, through the back entrance, up the private elevator, straight into his corner suite. Maya's eyes went wide at the glass walls and endless city below. "It looks like a toy world," she whispered. Nathan chuckled. "Sometimes it feels like one." While he handled calls, she sat in the corner, sketching. And when he hung up, she showed him a drawing of him at his desk, but instead of papers, flowers grew from his briefcase. For the first time in years, Nathan laughed. Not the cynical laugh, but something real. But not everyone shared his amusement. His assistant, Clara, noticed first. "Mr. Cross," she said cautiously, "we have strict policies about bringing visitors." Nathan waved her off. "She's with me." Clara frowned, but obeyed. Still, whispers began. Board members asked questions. Colleagues exchanged glances. A billionaire with a mysterious little girl? The gossip wrote itself. Nathan ignored it, but deep down, he knew the scrutiny was only beginning. Despite the risks, Nathan kept including her. One evening, during a strategy dinner, he found himself distracted by the way his colleagues spoke. All numbers, all power, no humanity. Later, he told Maya about it. They talk as if money is the only thing that matters. Maya shrugged. Maybe they've never been hungry. The simplicity of it stunned him. Her perspective, raw and unfiltered, cut through layers of arrogance he'd accepted as normal. The turning point came when Maya asked to attend one of his charity galas. "People give you money for kids like me, right?" she asked innocently. "Yes," Nathan admitted. "Then shouldn't they actually meet one?" The question left him speechless. He had donated millions, yet he'd never really seen the faces behind the causes. And now the cause was sitting across from him, challenging him with nothing but honesty. Against his better judgment, he agreed. The night of the gala, Nathan brought Maya through the side entrance. She wore a borrowed dress, simple but clean, and clutched her sketchbook like armor. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers, laughter, and glasses clinking. Heads turned, murmurs spread. Who is she? Why is she here? Nathan ignored them, keeping Maya close. During his speech, something unexpected happened. Maya tugged him and said, "Can I say something?" Before he could stop her, she stepped to the microphone. "My name is Maya. You give money to help kids like me. But we don't just need money. We need people who don't laugh at us. People who see us." The room fell silent. No business pitch, no polished speech had ever gripped them like her simple truth. Nathan's chest ached with pride and fear, because in that moment, Maya became more than his secret. She became visible. After the gala, the headlines exploded. Billionaire cross appears with mystery child. Charity case or scandal. Nathan stared at the articles, knowing the questions would only grow louder. He'd opened a door he couldn't close. And for the first time, the billionaire wondered, was he strong enough to stand beside Maya when the whole world demanded answers?
Nathan thought he was ready to let Maya into his world, but the world wasn't ready for her. The moment she stepped into that gala, the whispers turned into storms, and soon Nathan faced a question no amount of money could silence. Would he protect her, or protect his reputation? The morning after the gala, Nathan's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Headlines screamed across every outlet. Who is the girl with Nathan Cross? Charity pawn or hidden scandal? Is the billionaire hiding a secret child? Paparazzi swarmed his office building. Reporters shouted from the sidewalks. Everywhere he went, cameras followed him, lenses hungry for the next frame of him and the mysterious child. In the boardroom, the tension was worse. Investors stared at him across the long table, their patience stretched thin. "Public image matters, Nathan," one of them snapped. "Bringing a child with no background into our events. Do you understand how this looks?" Another chimed in. "We've worked years to protect the company's brand. One photo can undo it all. You need to make a statement. Distance yourself immediately." Nathan clenched his jaw. For the first time in his career, he didn't care about the brand. But saying that aloud felt like declaring war. Even Clara, his loyal assistant, confronted him in private. "She's a child, Nathan, vulnerable. Do you realize what happens when the press digs into her past, into where she sleeps at night?" Her words hit hard. He had wanted to protect Maya, but maybe he had only painted a bigger target on her. Still, the idea of abandoning her now, it twisted his stomach in ways business threats never had. Meanwhile, Maya felt the change too. When Nathan met her in the park that evening, she seemed quieter. Her sketchbook sat closed on her lap. "They took pictures," she said softly. "They followed me after you left." Nathan's chest tightened. "Did they hurt you?" "No, but I don't like being watched." She hesitated, then asked the question he feared most. "Did I get you in trouble?" Nathan knelt to meet her eyes. "No, Maya, you didn't. If anyone's in trouble, it's me." But even as he said it, he knew the truth. Their lives were now tangled, and danger followed both of them. That night, Nathan stood before his window again, staring at the glittering skyline. The city loved a scandal, and it loved tearing people down even more. He could issue a press statement, cut ties, and return to safety. It was the logical move, the business move. But the thought of Maya sitting alone under that bridge, believing she wasn't worth standing beside, it was unbearable. For the first time in years, logic wasn't enough to guide him. The breaking point came at a shareholder event. Flashbulbs lit the air as Nathan stepped onto the stage. Behind him, carefully hidden until the last second, was Maya, holding her sketchbook tightly. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Journalists leaned forward, pens ready. Nathan took a breath. "You've all been asking who this girl is. Tonight, I'll answer. Her name is Maya. She's not my daughter. She's not a charity prop. She's a person, one who deserves to be seen, heard, and treated with dignity, just like any of us." Maya looked up at him, eyes wide, as if she couldn't believe he'd just said it. The crowd buzzed, some in support, others in outrage. But Nathan didn't care. For the first time, he wasn't hiding behind wealth. He was standing in truth. That night, half the city praised him. The other half tore him apart. Investors threatened lawsuits. Politicians whispered about investigations. But when Nathan returned home and saw Maya sleeping on his couch, sketchbook slipping from her hands, he knew one thing. He'd made his choice, and there would be no going back.
Nathan made his choice. He stood by Maya in front of the world. No excuses, no hiding. And now, the world would decide what to do with him. Would he lose everything? Or had he finally found something worth losing for? The next week was chaos. Stock prices wavered. Headlines battled one another. Cross ruins fortune over homeless child. From billionaire to father figure, a risky gamble. Investors flee, but public cheers. His board demanded an emergency vote to remove him as CEO. Old allies turned their backs. But something unexpected also happened. Letters began to arrive. Hundreds, then thousands. Children wrote, "Thank you for seeing us." Parents wrote, "You reminded us kindness matters more than money." Strangers wrote, "I want to help. Where do I start?" For every door closing, another cracked open. Through it all, Maya stayed close. She was quiet at first, almost guilty, as though Nathan had lost his empire because of her. One evening she whispered, "You don't have to keep me." Nathan froze. "Keep you?" "I know how this goes. People leave when it gets hard. It's okay." Nathan knelt, his voice firm. "Maya, listen to me. You are not a burden. You are not a mistake. If I lost every company, every dollar, and still had you in my life, that wouldn't be a loss. That would be a win." For the first time, Maya's composure cracked. She threw her arms around him and sobbed into his chest. Nathan held her, realizing that maybe he wasn't saving her. Maybe she was saving him. With the company slipping from his control, Nathan faced a choice: fight to cling to power, or use his platform for something greater. He chose the latter. Together with Maya, they launched a foundation. Not just a donation fund, but a real movement. They called it the Garden Project, inspired by Maya's drawings of flowers growing in broken places. Its mission: build shelters, fund art programs, and give children voices that couldn't be ignored. Investors laughed at first,
Critics scoffed. But then the public rallied. Donations poured in. Volunteers lined up. Nathan discovered something wealth alone had never given him: meaning. Months later, Maya's sketches were displayed in a small art gallery. Children walked through, pointing at the drawings of bridges and flowers, of cracks and gardens, of hope blooming where it shouldn't. Nathan stood beside her, dressed not in his billionaire armor, but simply as a man proud of the girl at his side. "Do you see? They're listening to you." Maya beamed. For the first time, she wasn't invisible. She was seen. One evening after the gallery closed, they sat on a park bench, the same bench where it had all begun. Maya giggled. "Remember the first thing I said to you?" Nathan smiled. "Of course. Can I sit here?" She leaned against him. "I'm glad you didn't say no." Nathan looked out at the city, his heart strangely light. For years, he had believed wealth was his fortress. But now, sitting beside an 8-year-old girl who once had nothing, he realized the truth. The greatest riches weren't built in boardrooms or banks. They were built in moments of courage, compassion, and connection. And so the billionaire who once laughed at innocence learned to laugh again. This time with joy. Not because of power, not because of money, but because of a little girl who asked the simplest question in the world. Can I sit here?